Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my channel? Thank you so much. In my previous life, I ruined myself to save her, and she turned and threw herself in her lover's arms, leaving me to die miserably on the street. Reborn, I returned to the day she was caught cheating, beaten, and lying in the emergency room. A doctor thrust a critical condition notice at me. Your wife is in critical condition. Sign here quickly. I looked at the face on the bed, familiar and strange at once, and smiled. I pointed at her and asked the doctor calmly, "Excuse me, who is this young lady?" The ER lights were as pale as a morgue. The air was thick with a nauseating mix of disinfectant and blood. My wife, Sophia, lay on a stretcher, hair disheveled, bruises mottling her face, a thread of blood at the corner of her mouth. Her pretty eyes were swollen like walnuts. Now they filled with tears as she looked at me with dependence and pain. How ridiculous! Only 3 hours ago, I had been saving every penny for our third wedding anniversary, using a few dollars I'd scraped together to book her favorite restaurant, Starlight in Lynn City, and she was in another man's bed. "Sir, are you the husband?" "Ethan?" A doctor in a white coat hurried over and shoved a form and a pen into my hand. "The patient has multiple soft tissue contusions and a mild concussion. We need you to sign immediately to proceed with full examinations and treatment. Hurry. Time is of the essence." I looked down at the family signature line, then up at the barely conscious Sophia on the bed. In my last life, right here, I signed without hesitation. To get her the best medicine, I maxed out every credit card and ran up a mountain of debt. To pay the steep hospital fees, I sold the only house my parents left me and got $1.5 million. And what was the result? When she recovered, the first thing she did was link arms with that man who beat her, the playboy named Dylan, and pointed at my nose, calling me a worthless excuse. "Ethan, look at yourself. Do you deserve me? The money from your crappy little house isn't even enough for one of my bags. If I hadn't pitied you, I'd have divorced you ages ago." They kicked me out of the hospital, penniless. I froze to death under an overpass that winter. My soul hung in the air as I watched Sophia and Dylan hold a lavish wedding. I watched my mother-in-law, Linda, dripping in jewels, flaunt how rich her son-in-law was. Hatred consumed me. Then, unexpectedly, I was reborn. Back to the moment when all this tragedy began. "Sir, what are you staring at?" "Sign it," the doctor urged impatiently. Sophia weakly croaked, her voice choked with sobs. "Ethan, it hurts. Please sign." She still thought I was the same sycophant who would do whatever she wanted. I smiled, a smile from the depths cold. I slowly pushed the critical condition notice back toward the doctor. In the stunned silence of the doctor and Sophia, I pointed at the woman I had once loved to the bone and asked, enunciating each word, "Excuse me, who is this young lady?" Veer froze. The doctor nodded, and his tone went stern. "Sir, this is no time for jokes. The patient's condition." "I'm not joking." I cut him off. My expression was calm as a stagnant pool. "I don't know her. Are you mistaken?" All the color drained from Sophia's face in an instant. She widened her eyes in disbelief and struggled to sit up, only to gasp from the pain of disturbing her wounds. "Ethan, are you insane?" "I'm your wife, Sophia," she screamed. I cupped my ear as if hearing some static noise. "Wife? Last life, when you all killed me. Why didn't you say you were my wife?" I turned and made as if to leave. "Doctor, since this has nothing to do with me, I'll be going. You should contact her family." "You can't go." Sophia was completely panicked, tears streaming down like beads snapped from a string. "Ethan, you bastard. What are you trying to do? Do you want me to die here?" I stopped, looked back at her, and there wasn't a shred of warmth in my eyes. "Miss, first, I don't know you. Second, even if I did, whether you live or die is none of my concern." With that, I walked toward the emergency room doors without looking back. At that moment, a sharp voice rang from behind me. "Ethan, you coward. Stop right there." I didn't need to turn to know my mother-in-law, Linda, had arrived. She swept up to me like a gust and raised her hand to slap me. I easily caught her wrist. In my last life, she hit and scolded me countless times, and I never fought back. But now, things were different. "You dare to pull away?" Linda trembled with anger, pointing at my nose and shouting, "You ungrateful wretch! My daughter is injured like this, and you're dawdling here, refusing to sign. Are you hoping she'll die? Let me tell you, if anything happens to Sophia, I won't let you off." I let go of her wrist with such force that she staggered back 2 steps. "First, don't point your finger at me," I said, my voice low but carrying an uncompromising chill. Linda was taken aback by my look. "Second, she's your daughter, not mine. She was brought to the hospital because someone beat her. You should be looking for who did that, not barking at me." "You." Linda was so angry she couldn't form words. On the bed, Sophia cried out, "Mom, he says he doesn't know me. He doesn't care about me." Hearing that, Linda flew into an even greater rage and lunged at me again. "Ethan, you animal. Try stepping out this door today if you dare." I watched her coldly, pulled out my phone from my pocket, and pointed it at her twisted face. "Touch me again, and I'll call the police and report you for intentional injury." Or would you like to be a local news headline? I've already thought of the title. Shocking. Mother-in-law attacks son-in-law in hospital over family dispute. Linda froze. She looked at my phone's camera, then at my icy face, and felt fear for the first time. This Ethan was nothing like the useless man she used to hit and berate. I put my phone away, straightened my collar, stepped around her, and went straight for the exit. Behind me came Sophia's desperate cries and Linda's frantic curses. I didn't look back. This life, your lives are none of my concern. Back at the place I once called home with Sophia, a suffocating oppression hit me. Our wedding photo still hung on the wall. I looked like a fool grinning with total happiness. Sophia smiled composedly and distantly. Now I could see that look was all pretense. I felt no attachment. I pulled my battered suitcase from the wardrobe and began packing. I didn't have much. A few changes of clothes, some professional books, and a locked wooden box at the bottom of my desk. I opened the box. Inside lay a property deed and a household registration book. They were the only inheritance my parents left me after they died in a car crash. In my last life, I sold this house full of childhood memories to pay for Sophia's treatment and got $1.5 million. On the day I sold the house, I cried like a child. And Sophia just said coldly, "Why are you crying? It's just an old house. I'll have Dylan buy you a villa later." So I was taken to Moore while you moved into a villa. "Sophia, this account between us needs settling." I put the property deed and household register close to me, pulled my suitcase, and closed the door without a moment's hesitation. Just as I reached downstairs, my phone rang. It was Sophia. I swiped to answer, but said nothing. On the other end, Sophia's sobbing came through immediately. "Ethan, where are you? Are you really going to abandon me? The hospital bill hasn't been paid yet. The doctor said, if we don't pay, they'll stop the medication." I listened coldly. "Ethan, I was wrong. Please don't be mad at me anymore. Come back quickly. I can't be without you." Her voice sounded so pitiful. If I were still my old self, I probably would have softened long ago. Unfortunately, my heart had frozen into ice on that cold winter night. "Money." I finally spoke, a hint of sarcasm in my voice. "Don't you have a rich second-generation boyfriend named Dylan?" I asked. Silence fell instantly on the other end. After a few seconds, Sophia's voice turned sharp and frightened. "How? How did you know? Are you following me? If you don't want people to know, then don't do it," I said indifferently. "Sophia, it's over between us." "No, Ethan, listen to my explanation. It's not what you think. Dylan and I are just ordinary friends." "Ordinary friends?" "Ordinary friends can beat you into the hospital. Ordinary friends can make you willingly betray me. Save your explanation for the king of hell," I said, and hung up, then blocked her number. The world grew quiet. I stood at the gate of the complex, looking at the place I'd lived for 3 years, and took a deep breath. Next, I would take back everything that belonged to me. I took a taxi straight to Lynn City's largest securities trading center. In my last life, during the time my soul drifted after death, I had inadvertently noted several penny stocks that would soar. One of them would surge 20 consecutive daily limit ups tomorrow because of a major acquisition announcement. This would be the capital for my revenge. I mortgaged the house and, together with all my savings, raised a full $1 million. Under the strange looks of the staff, I didn't hesitate to put all the funds into that stock, code 002594. After doing all this, I walked out of the trading hall. The sunlight was dazzling, but I felt incredibly refreshed. Sophia, Linda, Dylan, your doomsday is coming. The next day, I didn't rush to check the market. I checked into a cheap hotel and slept soundly. It was the best sleep I'd had in 3 years. Not until the afternoon did I leisurely open a foreign securities app on my phone. The stock I'd gone all in on was indeed tightly sealed at the daily limit. Everything was exactly as I remembered. I turned off the phone and went to get something to eat when an unknown number called. I answered, and a man's arrogant voice came through. "Are you Ethan?" "That's me." "Who is this?" "I'm Dylan," the man said, his tone full of haughty superiority. "Sophia's man." I laughed. "Already coming to find me? Looks like the hospital's out of money." "Oh, so you're the one who hit her," I said. Dylan seemed momentarily taken aback, then snorted. "Kid, be smart and go to the hospital to pay her medical bills, then divorce Sophia. I can give you $200,000. Consider it your severance." $200,000? In my last life, I sold that apartment for $1.5 million and paid off all of Sophia's debts. Now, he thinks he can send me away with $200,000. $200,000? I chuckled lightly. "Mr. Dylan, are you trying to bribe a beggar? Don't you dare shamelessly take my pity." Dylan snapped. "For a pauper like you, $200,000 is enough to live on for years. Take the money and get out. Don't you ever pester Sophia again." "Fun." I shifted tone and agreed unusually readily. Dylan froze. He probably hadn't expected me to concede so easily. "But I have one condition," I said. "Say it." "We do the exchange in person. You give me the $200,000 in cash, and in front of you, I'll break up with Sophia." "Okay, smart move." Dylan agreed immediately. Outside Lynn's City People's Hospital. "Half an hour. Be there." After hanging up, a cold smile crossed my face. "Dylan, you think you're humiliating me with money? You're wrong. You're simply handing me proof of your own stupidity." Half an hour later, I arrived at the hospital entrance. Dylan was already there, leaning against a flashy red Ferrari, looking impatient. Beside him stood a tearful Linda. When she saw me, Linda rushed over and pointed at me, shouting, "You heartless thing, finally showing your face. Where's the money? Where's the money Mr. Dylan gave you?" I ignored her and walked straight up to Dylan. He took a black tote bag from the car and tossed it at my feet. "There, $200,000, not a cent less. Now call Sophia and tell her it's over between you." He crossed his arms and looked down at me with nothing but contempt. I didn't pick up the bag. I pulled out my phone, opened the recorder, then dialed Sophia. The call connected quickly. "Hello." I switched to speaker and glanced at Dylan, signaling him to speak. Dylan, clearly pleased with my cooperation, cleared his throat and in a boastful tone addressed my phone. "Sophia, listen. Your useless husband has been sent away by me with $200,000. From now on, you're mine, Dylan's woman. Behave yourself and don't mess around with any riffraff. Understood?" There was a pause on the other end, then muffled sobbing from Sophia. A curve tugged at my mouth. Good. The recording secured. I hung up and slipped my phone back into my pocket. Dylan watched me triumphantly. "Kid, you got the money and the breakup. Now get lost." I looked at him and suddenly smiled. "Mr. Dylan, you seem to have misunderstood something." "What?" "This $200,000 is not my breakup fee." I gestured to the bag on the ground. Then to him, "It's the compensation for you injuring my wife. Mental anguish, lost wages, medical expenses. All that adds up to $200,000. And you're getting off cheap." Dylan's face changed in an instant. Linda was stunned. "Ethan, what do you mean? Didn't you agree to the breakup?" she cried. "What did I ever agree to?" I spread my hands innocently. "I was just humoring Mr. Dylan, putting on a show. After all, the whims of the rich are always so strange." "You son of a—" Dylan finally realized and went livid, his face ashen, and swung a fist at my face. I stepped aside to avoid him, then kicked his knee. Dylan let out a miserable scream and fell to his knees, holding his leg. I looked down at him from above, just as he had looked at me in my previous life. "Dylan, Remember, this is only the beginning. After speaking, I turned and strode away, coolly amid the shocked gazes of Linda and the other onlookers. As for the $200,000 on the ground, I thought it dirty. Over the next half-month, I vanished completely. I changed my phone number and checked into the Ritz in Lean City's downtown. My days were simple: read financial news, study future business trends, then work out and learn. I refused to endure the weakness and ignorance of my past life again. The number in my account also climbed as that stock hit consecutive daily limits, from $1 million to $10 million and then to $100 million. When the balance surpassed 9 figures, I calmly sold all the shares. I knew the stock's peak had passed. Greed would ruin everything. $100 million. This was the seed money for my first act of revenge. As for Sophia and Linda, they were probably already losing their minds, unable to find me, unable to pay medical bills, tormented by that fickle jerk, Dylan. I could imagine their disgrace, but I felt no pleasure. It still wasn't nearly enough. What I wanted was to make them fall from the clouds into the mud and never recover. Using new identity information, I registered an investment company called Far Voyage Investments, symbolizing the start of my new life. Then I began using that money to build my business empire. I bought a tech company on the verge of bankruptcy because I knew a technology they were developing would upend the industry in 6 months. I also invested in several seemingly unremarkable internet projects that would become giants in the future. Everything was under my control. One day, while reviewing documents in my office, I received a call from an unfamiliar number. "Is this Mr. Ethan? This is the global law firm of Lean City. Your wife, Miss Sophia, has filed for divorce." I leaned back in my executive chair and smiled. Finally, what are her demands? I asked. "Miss Sophia requests an equal split of marital assets. According to our investigation, you own a property in Lean City's East District and $100 million in cash, right?" I finished for him. The lawyer on the other end was clearly taken aback. "Yes, Mr. Ethan, you know." "Of course I know." I chuckled lightly. "Tell Sophia I agree to the divorce. As for the assets, have her come to my company and we'll discuss it face to face." "Very well, Mr. Ethan. What is your company's address?" I gave the address of my company, the top floor of the Global Sitter building in Lean City's most prosperous CBD. After hanging up, I could picture Sophia and Linda on the other end, their faces greedy and shocked to learn I hadn't gone bankrupt, but had become a billionaire. The game was getting more interesting. The next afternoon, my assistant Olivia knocked and entered. "Mr. Ethan, there are 2 ladies downstairs, one named Sophia and one named Linda. They say they're your family and want to see you. Bring them up." I walked to the huge floor-to-ceiling window and looked down at the bustling city below. In my past life, I had been thrown from a high building like this by Dylan's men. Now, I was standing at the same height. The office door was pushed open. Sophia and Linda walked in. They were clearly dressed up. Sophia wore a designer dress. The wounds on her face had healed, and she'd regained that pure, captivating look. Linda carried a Hermes bag and wore a fixed smile. But when they saw who was sitting in the boss's chair in the office, their smiles froze instantly. "Ethan, why is it you?" Linda stammered. Sophia's eyes widened, disbelief written all over her face. Surprised, I turned the chair and regarded them leisurely. "You came uninvited. What's the matter? This company is yours." Sophia's voice trembled. "Otherwise," I retorted. A gritty glint flashed in Linda's eyes. She hurried to my desk and smiled obviously. "Oh my, Ethan, my wonderful son-in-law. You've done so well. I knew you weren't ordinary. Look at you. You've made such a fortune and didn't even tell us. You had us worrying so long." As she spoke, she reached to touch a valuable ornament on my desk. My gaze went cold. "Take your filthy hands off." Linda's smile froze. "And don't call me son-in-law. I can't afford that responsibility." I leaned back in my chair and looked at them coldly. "Come on, what do you want?" Sophia took a deep breath and stepped forward, her eyes gleaming as she put on a pitiful act. "Ethan, after all, we are husband and wife. You disappeared suddenly and sold the house. I was so worried about you. I've been looking for you for so long. Worried about me or worried about my money?" I cut her off mercilessly. Sophia's face drained of color. Linda hurried to smooth things over. Oh, come on. We're family. Who's talking about money? Ethan, look at you now. So rich. Sophia has suffered for you all these years. You can't forget her. As for the divorce, I think you should drop it and live together. Live together? I laughed as if at the biggest joke. Live with your daughter, and then wait for her to be beaten into the hospital by another man again, so I could go broke saving her. My words were a knife plunging into them. Sophia's face instantly went pale. No, Ethan. Dylan and I have broken up. I swear, from now on, I will only be with you. She pleaded, even lifting a hand to swear. Broken up? I sneered, pulled a stack of photos from the drawer, and tossed them in front of them. The photos were from last night. Sophia and Dylan kissing intimately at Starry Restaurant in Lynn City. Is that what you call broken up? I asked. Sophia stared at the pictures as if struck by lightning, stunned, speechless. Linda froze too. She glanced between the photos and me, panic flashing in her eyes. Ethan, don't listen to her lies. We're here today to talk about the divorce. Linda's eyes shifted, and she changed tactics on the spot. You're rich now, and Sophia gave her youth for you. That $100 million in your name. Sophia should get half. That's what the law says, right? I want half. Sophia snapped back to life, clutching at the lifeline like a drowning person. That's our marital property. I looked at their greedy faces and smiled. Marital property? I pressed the intercom on my desk. Have Marcus Wilson from legal come in. Marcus Wilson, the lawyer, came in quickly. A middle-aged man wearing gold-rimmed glasses who looked extremely sharp and capable. Mr. Ethan, you wanted to see me? Lawyer Marcus Wilson. These two are my family, here to talk to me about dividing the divorce assets. I deliberately emphasized the word family. Marcus Wilson nodded and looked towards Sophia and Linda, his gaze professional and cold. Linda immediately seemed to find a pillar of support. Strutting arrogantly, she said to Marcus Wilson, You're just in time, lawyer. My son-in-law, Ethan, made $100 million during the marriage and now wants a divorce for my daughter. By law, my daughter should get $50 million. Hurry up and handle the paperwork. Marcus Wilson pushed up his glasses, didn't look at her, and instead looked at me, waiting for my instruction. I opened my mouth slowly. Marcus Wilson, show the gift I prepared for you to these two ladies. All right, Mr. Ethan. Marcus Wilson took 2 document folders out of his briefcase and handed them to Sophia and Linda, respectively. Sophia trembled as she opened the folder. When she saw what was inside, her face drained of color instantly. Linda, curious, leaned over to look and then let out a shriek. This? What is this? What spilled out of the folder was nothing else but a thick stack of photos. The photos were unsightly. Intimate shots of Sophia with different men in hotels, in cars, and in various places. The male lead changed several times, but the female lead was always Sophia. Besides Dylan, there were several men I hadn't known about in my last life. Sophia, didn't you say you only had Dylan? I asked, feigning surprise. Seems your ordinary friends are quite a few. No, these are fake. Sophia shook her head wildly, screaming hysterically. Ethan, you fabricated photos to slander me just so you wouldn't give him money. Slander? I sneered and pulled out a USB drive, plugging it into the computer on a desk. The large projection screen on the wall came to life almost immediately. A video began to play. It was the recording from that day at the hospital entrance. Dylan speaking into my phone, personally admitting Sophia was his woman, his arrogant face on display. Sophia, listen. Your useless husband has already been bought off with $200. Dylan's voice echoed in the quiet office, sounding especially clear and sarcastic. Linda's face shifted from red to white to green in a dramatic display. Sophia completely went limp, her face ashen. Marcus Wilson. I looked at the mother and daughter who sat stunned and spoke slowly. Now tell me, do you think they can still get a single penny? Marcus Wilson adjusted his glasses and, looking at Sophia as if she were trash, said in a businesslike manner, under marriage law, if one party is unfaithful during the marriage and causes serious consequences, the at-fault party should receive none or less when assets are divided. Mr. Ethan, you can absolutely argue for Miss Sophia to leave with nothing. No, I don't want that. I don't want to leave with nothing. Sophia crawled forward like a madwoman trying to cling to my legs. Ethan, I was wrong. I really was wrong. Will you forgive me this once? I swear I won't do it again. I kick her away. Don't touch me. You're dirty. I looked down at her, not a trace of pity in my eyes. Sophia, from the moment you betrayed me, you don't deserve to have anything. Get out, or I can't guarantee these photos and videos won't end up online. My voice was like a sentence from hell. Sophia and Linda were escorted out by security. Their cries and curses echoed through the empty corridor and then gradually faded. I stood by the floor-to-ceiling window, watching them driven out of the Global Center building like two mangy dogs. Inside, I felt nothing. The thrill of revenge wasn't as powerful as I thought it would be. Instead, there was a calm, like dust settling. Perhaps from the moment I was reborn, these people had already been dead to me. In the days that followed, I devoted myself wholeheartedly to work. Under my leadership, Far Voyage Investments swiftly rose to prominence in the industry with its precise forecasts of future markets. The tech company I acquired indeed released a disruptive graphene battery technology. 6 months later, the stock price soared, and my assets multiplied several times over. Several internet projects I invested in also secured massive rounds of financing and became darlings of the capital market. In less than a year, I went from a billionaire to a business star worth tens of billions of dollars. The name Ethan began to appear frequently on the covers of major foreign financial magazines. As for Sophia, after divorcing me, she became a joke in social circles. She left with nothing, and her reputation was ruined. Dylan, embarrassed by her, soon abandoned her. Linda couldn't bear the fall from heaven to hell and cried all day at home until she fell ill. To pay for her mother's treatment and to sustain her luxurious lifestyle, Sophia had to sell her body again. But this time, she faced not a rich second generation like Dylan, but some greasy old men old enough to be her father. I heard these stories as gossip from my assistant Olivia from time to time. I merely listened and never commented. Their fate was their own doing. It had nothing to do with me. I thought my entanglement with them was over until the day I saw Dylan again at a business cocktail party. The event was hosted by the long-established Harrison family of Lynn City. As an emerging star in the business world, I was naturally invited. I was holding a glass of wine, chatting and laughing with several entrepreneurs when a discordant voice interrupted. "Oh, isn't this Mr. Ethan? Truly young and promising." I turned and saw Dylan. He was in a designer suit, hair slicked back, but the jealousy and malice in his eyes could not be hidden. His family's company had recently plunged into a severe financial crisis because of a bad investment decision. The stock price collapsed, and they were on the brink of bankruptcy. That bad investment was exactly the one I had subtly orchestrated behind the scenes. I used his family's rival to release a fake positive announcement to lure the greedy Parkers into the trap. Once they had poured in all their assets, I pulled the rug from under that company, and the Parker family naturally lost everything. I executed it flawlessly. Dylan didn't know his family's crisis had been engineered by me. All he saw was that the loser he once looked down on had now reached a height he had to look up to. "So, it's Mr. Dylan." I smiled faintly. "Long time no see. Been well, thanks to you." "Not dead yet," Dylan said with a forced smile. He raised his glass toward me. "Mr. Ethan is the city's hotshot now. Please look after the Parker family from now on." His tone dripped with sarcasm. Everyone around sensed the tension and found excuses to leave. "Look after?" I swirled the red wine in my glass and gave a light chuckle. "Mr. Dylan, you're joking. Your Parker family's businesses don't seem to have much overlap with mine, do they? Humiliate you mercilessly, crush you under my feet, make you taste the suffering I once endured. But now, looking at you, I find I don't even have the strength to hate you." I pulled a lot of dollars from my wallet and tossed them in front of her. "This money is enough for you to buy your mother a decent plot. Take the money and get out. Never show your face to me again." Sophia looked at the dollars on the floor, then at my cold face, and finally understood. There was no longer any possibility between her and me. The last sliver of hope on her face shattered. Her eyes became hollow and desperate. She didn't pick up the money. She rose in a daze like a soulless puppet and walked out of my office step by step. Watching her retreating figure, I knew her life was over. After Sophia left, she never appeared again. Later, I heard her mother died not long after from illness. Sophia herself, unable to withstand the blow, went mad and was sent to a foreign psychiatric hospital. As for Dylan, after a creditor broke one of his legs, he was sentenced to 20 years for illegal fundraising and commercial fraud. They both received their due retribution. I, meanwhile, stood at the pinnacle of life. I moved the company headquarters into the tallest skyscraper in Lin City that I had built with my own hands, the Yuan Hang Center. From the top floor office, through the huge floor-to-ceiling windows, I could overlook the entire city. Beneath my feet lay the land that once humiliated me and also allowed me to be reborn. My phone vibrated. It was a text from an unknown number. "Mr. Ethan, I am Sophia's attending physician. Her condition has been poor recently. She often calls your name. Would you like to come see her?" I looked at the message and expressionlessly pressed delete. My life is set sail. As for those wrecks sunk in the past, let them rot forever at the bottom of the sea. The afterglow of the sunset fell on me, stretching my shadow long and long. My new world was just.